All right, let's move on now to political matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has kicked off the nationwide continuous voter registration exercise. The commission announced that a total of 69,376 Nigerians pre-registered online within the first 7 hours of the exercise, noting that tens of thousands of citizens had already signed up. While INEC urges citizens to take advantage of the opportunity to be part of the electoral process ahead of the general election, it notes that eligible Nigerians can begin their registration online via the portal before the physical exercise commences on August the 25th, 2025. The Commission cautioned against multiple registration, warning that offenders face stiff penalties. Yetunde Bakare is Program Manager at Yiaga Africa. She joins me alongside lawyer and political analyst Liborous Oshoma to discuss the process of continuous voter registration ahead of the 2027 elections. Thank you very much for being here. Let me start with you, Yetunde. The continuous voter registration has begun. How ready do you think we are?
Thank you very much for having me. How ready do I think that we are? And I think that the number speaks for itself on how ready we are. And the statement released by INEC, the space of 7 hours, I think 69,376 Nigerians had registered for their permanent voters card, which of course speaks to how not just young people, but Nigerians in general are ready to participate in the 2027 election. And to also mention that the statement by INEC had only mentioned the pre-registration, but there are other things that can also happen on the CVR portal, which also includes transfer of your PVC if you want to review your information, and that data has not been presented by INEC. So you can imagine the large number of Nigerians who took part within 2 days to review their information or to begin the process for the registration for their permanent voters card.
Are there any provisions, to your knowledge, to put in those who do not have internet access? Because this is pre-registration. They are to go to physical location to complete the exercise. Is there a provision for people like that?
In line with the announcements that INEC made, the physical registration will begin on the 25th of August. And those who started the process for the pre-registration where they can submit all their relevant information will still need to visit the registration centers for their biometrics to be captured. So it does not just end does not just end online. You still have to visit the physical center, and what that actually does for Nigerians is that it reduces the pressure, the number of hours that you would spend at those registration center, because you have already begun the process online, and what you're doing is just the completion of your registration.
All right. Let me come to you, Liborous. Thank you for being here. I think when we started, your network was a bit off. A total of 69,376 persons in the first 6 hours pre-registered with INEC online. Is this a pointer to how much Nigerians are gearing up for 2027? Will they show up? Okay, unfortunately, we still have that challenge.
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I am not too comfortable to say here convincingly that because we've seen, a surge in the numbers that, Nigerians actually are ready, or that INEC is ready in terms of voters, in terms of the election per se. You see, voters registration is supposed to be a continuous process. But when you make it an ad hoc arrangement like we're seeing, certainly there's going to be bottleneck. Even though we can say INEC has raised the bar a little, bit, notch up a little bit. But I'm still not too comfortable because over the years, if you look at the numbers, it is not about the numbers of registered voters, really. The problem and the challenge has always been the number of actual voters. You see, in states, you go to the total number of registered voters in a state, you see about 10 million registered voters. But on the day of election, total turnout of voters, we say massive turnout. At the end of the day, total number of votes cast, or total number of actual voters, about 2 million. Over the years since 1999, that had been the case. Another thing is that a lot of people, maybe that might change because before now, people use some of this identity card as a means of, voters card as a means of ID card. And then the challenges of going to collect the permanent voters card from INEC also been arrangement, opening up the portal, giving a window for registration, and then after that, you see there's a surge, people go to collect their card. You have independent electoral commission at the local government level. Voters registration ordinarily should be a continuous process, just like the national ID card registration, just like the PVC, the BVN registration. You don't have to, create a special window when people now go register. Now, especially now that they are doing it online, the portal ought to have been open, concurrently over time, instead of waiting till we are getting close to election. And that's why to now collect the permanent card there to complete the physical process, INEC will know the challenges ahead so that they can prepare for it so that they don't disappoint Nigerians.
All right, talking about the challenges ahead, Yetunde, 774 local government, 36 states, plus the FCT will have physical exercise. What are some of these challenges you foresee and how can INEC mitigate them so the process can be easy for everyone?
Some of the challenges that I foresee would be that there would be a surge within the first 1 or 2 months. Let's not forget that the CVR would run for 1 year. But we know that most people will wait until the very last minute before they go register. But within the first 1 month, there'll definitely be a surge. But I think the bigger question for me is, does INEC have the manpower to man these 881 centers where registration will be taking place? And what kind of support is available to INEC to be able to adequately cater to this number of people within the first 6 months? Because of course people would show up at this time, people want to complete their registration. Those who have done transfers of their PVC, for example, would want to still go ahead, and people who are not even aware. So we're saying this large number for those who have done pre-online registration, and we know that there are a lot of people who would rather go physically to registration centers to register. So there will be a surge within the first 1 to 3 months, and INEC needs to begin to adequately cater for that. Beyond the manpower, the machines that are also going to be used for registration, are they adequately sufficient to cater for the number of people who will be visiting the registration center at that time? But let's not also forget that the pre-online and the physical registration is also happening simultaneously. So it's not opened for a period of time. It's open 24 hours in a day and happening simultaneously. So as physical registration is going on, people can begin the process online to just save the amount of time that they have to spend at these registration centers.
Liborous, there is one demography that always comes up, and that's persons living with disabilities, inclusivity, accessibility. Do you think that INEC took that into consideration with this online process? If yes, what's your impression of how they are doing with inclusivity for persons living with disabilities?
INEC had taken it a little bit a notch further by, doing pre-online registration, allowing people that have the capacity. So you asked, how about people without internet access? There are a lot of people in Nigeria. Internet is still, very expensive. It is convenient for those of us in the city to access it, but there are still a lot of people in the rural areas, in some local government areas that cannot access, data easily, and especially now that it's also expensive. So those ones also, you can group them among those who are people with disability. I agree that you have physical registration, but the problem here, the INEC, and that's why I come back to my first statement. That's why I believe INEC ought to have empowered, frankly. So that would have reduced the burden at this time.
Unfortunately, Liborous, the network is really unfavorable at this time, and we're out of time for the conversation. Hopefully, we can have this conversation another time. Thank you very much for being here. Yetunde, as always, thank you too for being here.